Kā jau Ketija teica, futūrists, lektors un grāmatu autors.
Jā, viņa mīļākais jautājums ir, kāpēc gan ne? Ar aplausiem un jaunām idejām sagaidām šeit uz iNOVUSS festivāla skatuves, lielākā skatuve šajā te festivālā, Stefans Hyttfors.
Welcome on board, welcome on stage. The stage is yours, Stefan, please.
Bizness ne tā kā parasti.
Business as unusual.
Please, welcome.
Thank you so much. How cool is this? I've been to many venues, but never to an outdoor festival. I mean, having speeches about creativity and innovation. I truly believe that everybody, I mean, you are truly hardcore fans. You are here at this hour to listen to speeches. You will talk about this in 5 years when you come back and this is packed. You will say, I was at the first ever iNOVUSS festival. I want to start by telling you a short story. A couple of months ago, I was at the Bangkok airport waiting for one of those after midnight flights. You know, it's not so crowded, even though you're in Asia that time of day. So I was sitting there on this bench all by myself. And then all of a sudden, this guy my age, he came and he sit down right next to me. It's like he want me to squeeze over a bit, you know. So I'm a bit confused. I'm wondering what's going on. And then he digs for his smartphone like this, and he starts searching for something. And then I can see the screen too, obviously, because it's right in front of us. And then all of a sudden, he starts punching the phone like this, furiously, you know, fighting with this little monster on the top. So obviously, I know many of you try this. This is a trend from last summer, the thing we refer to as Pokemon Go. We are hunting for stuff in augmented reality. Did you try it? Yeah, some of you, huh? It's kind of strange, you know. Yeah, I can see some of you are shaking your heads. It's kind of strange for guys like me. I don't play Pokemon. It's almost like I want to go to these people and I want to say, hey, there's nothing there. But they would say there is. And they would show you. They would tell you all the kind of creatures that they got, and they collected different points and scores, etc. You know, people got into car crashes. They got arrested. They had problems with homeowners that had trespassers in their gardens just because their homes obviously all of a sudden became a Pokestop. So many different new things to get adjusted to just because of this one trend here. I would say that everybody out here, even if you are not playing Pokemon Go, you are using augmented reality or virtual reality or the digital reality, the new reality. Just think about how you solve your problems. We all solve our problems with these little tools for so many reasons. So think about something like money. Money is a little bit more serious than Pokemon. What do you do when you want to see your money? You don't go to the bank anymore. There are no banks, or are there? Not an open one anyway. So you go to the bank in the phone, you go to the app, and you open the app, and you check your balance to see how much money you have, and you know it's actually not your money. You see only how much the bank owes you. You know that, don't you? You also know they don't have it. Just like here, there's nothing there. But as long as you believe in it, as long as you think that this application looks nice, the bank has this brand, this nice logotype, and you can go online to check for the black and white photographs of old guys who launched this bank, etc., then you trust it. So this kind of technology that we can solve all kind of different problems in augmented reality, in virtual reality with our gadgets, this is kind of a new technology, but it would have been hard to predict a thing like Pokemon Go 10 years ago. It all started 10 years ago. That's where we had the presentation from Steve Jobs in the summer of 2007 when he introduced us to the first ever iPhone. And if you go back on YouTube and if you check that product launch, when Steve Jobs introduced the world's ever first iPhone to the world, it's an amazing presentation, as you know. But it's also amazing to think about all the things that we thought about back then. You know, we sort of knew that now we get the internet to the pocket. We can touch the internet. People are amazed because we can touch the phone. We can touch the screen. But it would have been very hard back then, 10 years ago, to understand the business models, the opportunities that came with this technology. Not many people 10 years ago thought about a thing like Pokemon. Well, wait a minute. If I can touch the internet, if I have that in my pocket, then I can create this augmented layer and I can have some monsters out on the lawn here and people can hunt for it in augmented reality. Yeah, let's go for that. We didn't think of that. So to understand these business models, to see the opportunities, we need two things. We need to think about new knowledge. We need to learn new technology so we understand new technology. And also we need to think about trust, because trust was always key to business. If we don't trust, as I said in the application for the bank, it's no good. So it's all about trust. Of course, the product launch this year, 10 years later, is not by Steve Jobs anymore. It's by the Steve Jobs of our time, Elon Musk. And this summer, Elon Musk introduced us to this product, the Tesla Model 3, the T-Ford of our days. So this year, right now, is the year in history where we got the first ever electrical car with self-driving abilities that is cheap enough for many people to buy it. 35,000 euros. And it's shipping now. So if you order one here, I guess you will get it in a year or something like that. And of course, this changes society. If we think about all the new business models that will be possible when we can start to share self-driving cars, it's kind of amazing. Because today our cities are built for cars, for transportation. It's congested. It took me a while to get from the airport into the city because you had so much reconstruction on the roadsides here outside of Riga, etc. And now we know, of course, people living in urbanized areas, young people, they don't want to own a car, so they share cars. That's a new business model. And next up, we can start to share self-driving cars. And where we can share self-driving cars, we don't need any cars at all. Well, we don't even need to park the cars. Maybe the cars can just roam around and hunt for passengers all day long. And if that's what they do, we don't need to own a car as a product. We have digitalized it, so we can consume a car from the cloud. Transportation as service we're talking about. So that will change the whole city. And with that, with this new technology, of course, comes a lot of new business model opportunities. This is the way we used to think about the future, the linear way. Yeah, I know it's unpredictable, the future. We don't know if it will rain or if it will. For a little while now, it will be hard, so bear with us here. The blue line here, that's business as usual. That's growth. That's going to work, doing what you did yesterday, preferably a little bit better tomorrow, so we can grow. 10%, 7%, 20%, different ambitions. The blue line here represents best practice. That's the best way you can do it. You can hear it by the word. It's best practice. When we have a notion about best practice, then we want to teach others about best practice. Best practice will be best practice until someone shows up with new practice. And this is the way new practice looks like. As you can see, the red line, it doesn't start in a very good manner. We're on the negative. It will cost us money in the beginning. It will be a great risk we are taking. And this here is the best way to explain why big corporations are not very successful at innovation. Because think about it. If you're a big corporation, you are good at efficiency. You are very efficient at what you do. You are in the blue line. You're conducting best practice. If you go for a red line like this, and you start losing money, you start risking something, your business will not be thriving. Your manager will not be happy, and your shareholders will not be happy because you are losing money. The only one who can lose money, of course, is the startup. Because the startup, we just saw them, the startups, they can have sunglasses and a beer on stage. They can be cool. So a startup, they can lose money because they don't have shareholders. They have venture capitalists, and venture capitalists have some patience, so they can lose money for a while. That's why they can start out in the bad manner. But this is not only from an enterprise perspective, this is from an idea perspective as well. The red line here represents risk. So I admire you because you are taking a great risk now staying in this terrible weather condition and just listening, so I better be good, I guess. The point here is that if you're in the blue line, It's not possible to continue. Even though you might like it right now, it's not possible. Because when the red line crosses the blue goes like this. It's game over. And this is when we start talking about disruption. The blue line is the old form of change, the cyclical change. The red line is the disruptive form of change. The blue line represents what we were talking about in the panel here, scalable learning. If you're good at efficiency, you are good at scalable efficiency. In the red line, you will be good at scalable learning. So the old manager, from the scalable efficiency perspective, that manager, he will have all the answers. In the red line, the managers have no answers. The best managers, the best leaders have the best questions. This here is what I refer to as the ROI of the 21st century. ROI not anymore as in return on investment. Forget about that. Now it's all about risk of ignorance. What's the cost if we don't understand the opportunity out there? And today, all the world's biggest problems are the world's biggest opportunities. So let's go for solving one of those, of course. Here you can see the red line live. It happened in media, and right now it's happening in retail. So this is in the United States, where it's been pretty obvious that the last couple of years they are closing down shopping malls, and the big giant retailers are having a hard time. So you can see the brands there if you recognize them. JCPenney, Macy, Dillard, Nordstrom. They have one thing in common. They didn't do anything wrong. They just kept on doing what they always did. You don't get disrupted because you are bad. You don't get disrupted because you do something wrong. You get disrupted because you are good at doing something no one needs anymore. Different thing. So obviously right now you can see all the lines in the bottom, they are just continuing, and the red line, Amazon, is thriving. If you fast forward the coming 15 years, you will see this scenario in many, many industries like automobiles, education, healthcare, energy, banking. Again, not because someone is so much smarter than everybody else, but because technology is out there for everybody today. It's these last 10 years, it's gotten so cheap with processing power, and we all have access, so we can all be innovators like that. The reason we will have to have a lot of this change is not necessarily because we love change. We have a hard time with disruptive change. It gets scary. But the reason is twofold. So we have to change because we have big problems. One of those problems, obviously, is that we have come to an end. We can't grow any further if we don't shape up. So things like the ecosystem, things like the coral reefs, things like air pollution, we have problems with things like that. This is a picture from China, from Beijing. If you think rain is bad, you know, if you can't breathe, that's even worse, so be grateful. In China, as you know, if you go there the wrong time of year, you will have a hard time to breathe. So air pollution is serious. Depending on who you listen to, the assumption right now is that between 4 to 7 million people die each year from air pollution. As you know, many cities today talk about a diesel ban to get a better air quality. And in China, of course, this is the foundation for why they should go into renewable energy. It's not necessarily because they are good and green and great people. You know, it's because they have to. So we have to change. And we have to change when we think about growth as well. How much are we actually going to grow? And what kind of growth? Are we sure we want this kind of growth? It's kind of strange, but today on this planet, more people die from eating too much, than from eating too little. Children, we have a growing trend of diabetes type 2 among children. Didn't exist in the 80s when I was a child. So many trends like this that are not sustainable, that we understand as far as ecosystems or as far as well-being from a humanity perspective, we are not going to be able to keep doing business as usual anymore. So we have to change. We have to create more with less. This here is the best picture I can show you of the future. Here you can see that blue line up until 1986, we were actually consuming the amount of resources that one planet can give us. But since 1986, for 30 years right now, we are on the red path here. So we are consuming more resources than one planet can give us. Right now, as you can see here, we are in 2017, we are at 1.6 planets. So every year, we consume the amount of resources that 1.6 planet have to give us. And obviously, we don't have more than one planet. So we do like with money. We borrow resources from the future to grow today. And of course, that's not a sustainable strategy. That's not a winning strategy. That's a losing strategy. So the gap here between 3 in 2050 and 1, that's the gap that explains to you why we have to change. And this doesn't mean quitting, ending, stopping. This means creating more with less. How can we create more value with less resources? Well, you know the answer. That's the beautiful thing. Not only do we have to change, but today we can change. And the reason we can change is because of this. Everybody can be an innovator. If you grow up today, you have access to the internet. And if you have access to the internet, you can be an innovator, because this is how the internet looks like. As you can see, there is no boss. There is no center. The internet is a stupid network. There is no one who cares if it's a $1 million transaction or a picture of a cat. A stupid network. That means that there is no innovation in the center being pushed out to the market. The innovation is in the edges. So when the innovation is in the edges, billions of people can be innovators, of course. And that's the great power shift that makes it possible for us to create change at a greater speed than ever before. We have access to this technology, and that's why we can create the change. Not only do we have to. So we started to talk about digitalization, and digitalization, you can hear it by the word. Digitalization, it means dematerialization. If we can solve a problem digitally, we don't have to have the physical stuff anymore. So on the picture to the left here, you can see 13 different blue lines, 13 industries that are dead or dying. Not because they did anything wrong, because they do something that no one needs anymore. Again, that's why you die these days. So think about this picture, because this doesn't only tell you about dematerialization, this also tells you something more about digital technology. It is deflationary. When we can solve a problem with digital technology, the price point, the marginal cost will drop. So things will start to get cheaper and more accessible to more people. So remember that. If you have children and they ask you for the iPhone 8 for Christmas this year, remember this picture. Don't tell them it's an expensive phone, it's 500 euros. Remember, we had to buy all that junk to the left when we were growing up to get a similar experience. It's very cheap. Think about something like taking pictures. How much does it cost me to take your picture right now? If I take a picture here, it doesn't cost me anything as long as I have the hardware. The marginal cost of taking pictures is 0. It's amazing. When I was growing up, it was expensive to take picture. Not many people could afford to take picture. We had, the habit was maybe you had 24 shots on a roll. So we took pictures on Christmas, Easter, midsummer. It was like, what do you say? Should we go for it? Take a picture? Yeah, why not? You know, keep your eyes open now. We have one shot. Expensive stuff. If I would have made a prediction back then, 20 years ago, I predict in the future, everybody, our 5-year-olds, they will be able to take 1,000 pictures of themselves every day. People would have laughed, ridiculed me, say, yeah, they would have said, just like we say about healthcare today, how would they be able to afford that? How are we going to be able to afford it? Well, with digitalization, when the marginal cost goes down towards 0, we will have marginal cost towards 0 in education, in healthcare, in energy, in almost any area. And that is what's going to make it more accessible to more people. Not cutting costs and doing it the old way. This is how a computer looked like when I was growing up, and this is just to remind you of how fast everything is going. This is the picture I show my kids when they ask me, Daddy, why didn't you have a computer when you was young? If I show them this picture here, they realize, they understand, you know, this is not very accessible equipment. Kind of expensive, kind of complicated, and you can see why this is power, because if you don't have access to this room, obviously you don't have that power. So this is a mainframe computer. And now, as you know, we went from mainframe to desktop. From desktop to laptop, from laptop to mobile, from mobile to wearable, and now we're going from wearable to implantable, you heard. So now we get the computers inside of our systems. So we are all being connected in this Internet of Things. And of course, yeah, if Moore's Law gave us abundant processing power for almost no money at all, why wouldn't we connect everything, including ourselves? Why would anything be a stupid thing if there is a smart thing? Why would you buy a stupid diaper if there is a smart diaper? The smart diaper is sort of measuring everything that comes out of the baby and you know, sending the data to the doctor all the time so you know it's on track. The stupid diaper is just full of shit. It will be an easy choice. And for us, I mean, of course we want to be connected. Of course we want to be informed. We are the last uninformed generation. Your grandkids will talk about you. They will say, poor grandpa. Do you remember grandpa? Yeah? God, he didn't know anything. You could ask him in the morning, how are you, grandpa? And he'd say, good. And you'd say, yeah, but you look a bit pale. What's your blood pressure? He'd say, I have no clue. We don't know. Of course we will know. You will know everything. You will know that when you go to the beer stand and you have a drink, you know, something will tell you that you just lost 8 minutes of your lifeline or something. You will know. It's not always great, you know, but you will know. And then the insurance company will call you and tell you that we don't like your lifestyle, so we have adjusted. And then you will start thinking about the integrity part and net neutrality and all those things, if not before that. Digitalization, it doesn't only mean dematerialization and deflation, it also means decentralization. And we learned about decentralization 15, 20 years ago. Most people heard buzzwords like crowdsourcing, crowdfunding 15 years ago or something, and it grew from there. The first great success, of course, was Wikipedia. Wikipedia, again, red line was down here. Everybody were laughing, shaking their heads. So do I understand you right? Are you actually telling me that anybody should be able to take part in creating the content for the encyclopedia? Do you realize how many errors that encyclopedia will contain? But no, it turned out the opposite. You know, people don't only like to create content for the encyclopedia. It seems like people enjoy even more to find errors among others. So this is the best encyclopedia there is by far. Crowdsourcing taught us that you don't need a boss. You can crowdsource, and thereby being much faster, much more agile than all the big hierarchies that need to go up and ask the boss all the time. This is like a natural law. You can have a great idea, but you know, money beats idea. If you have a lot of money, you know, politics can make some trouble for money makers. So you need to spend at least a little bit of that money on politicians. I know the ones of you who are in politics here say that's not how it goes. You know, we don't do bribes and stuff here. No, we're a bit more sophisticated in this part of the world. Here, I will call a lobbyist, and they will have a lunch with a politician, and they will, you know, threaten them to take away 1,000 jobs or something. And because otherwise, politicians might legislate in a way that I don't like. However, what's more interestingly today is that it doesn't matter how much political power you have, because technology beats politics. Technology doesn't care about borders. So it doesn't matter if you legislate. If you make something illegal here, the only thing that happens if you legislate with a new technology, like, what's this Bitcoin stuff? Is it creepy? Is it money laundering? Well, let's make it illegal. If you do that, technology doesn't care. You will be left behind. And people that understand technology, they will say, well, how could you make a thing like Bitcoin illegal? Well, you're not allowed to bring any to Latvia. Okay, search me. You can use your rubber gloves, you know. You won't find anything. So they don't really understand what's up with this new trust ledger and this system for technology. This is another example. This is how we think about a product, in this case, a car. Think about how many workers to assemble a product like this. How many companies required to assemble a product like this, like a regular automobile. And of course, you understand that we need a whole infrastructure, a whole economy, a whole system to serve that car, to put some new oil in it, etc., etc. And now we don't need it anymore, because as I said, we have electrical cars, and that doesn't require a combustion engine anymore. And the future is not in the distance. The future is here, as you know. The cars already have all the hardware necessary for full autonomous driving. So the only reason today that we can't go to the back seat and sleep in our cars is because of our law, not because of technology. So for a while, we have to sit there and pretend we are driving because of the law. But make no mistake, today you will judge people in the traffic. You will say, that guy is texting and driving because it's very dangerous. In just 5 years' time, you will say the opposite. You will say, that guy is driving. That's the dangerous thing, you know. We don't know how to drive. Over 1 million people get killed each year in traffic. 94% of those accidents are because of human error. How would you solve a problem like that? Well, make it illegal to drive, of course. You will have smart cities and stupid cities. In a smart city, you can't drive a car. It's a mess, you know. In the old days, we had human drivers, so we had to have traffic lights and lanes and parking spots, all of these things that made the traffic inefficient. In the smart city, we don't need things like a traffic light. Why would you have a traffic light? Have you thought about why stopping at a red light at 10 p.m. a Saturday evening? You're all alone in this crossway. Well, it's because we are allowed to drive, of course. If the cars can start to drive, they can talk to each other around the corners, they can talk to the cloud, etc. The only thing right now that is a bit confusing is how are we going to be able to make the shift? Because we can't do it overnight. How will we, as human beings, interact with machines? This traffic cop here in Menlo Park in California, he's a bit confused. He pulls the Google car over, and he doesn't know what to do when there is no driver. Who's in charge? So they laugh at him. They take pictures from the office nearby, you know, and a journalist calls him to ask, why did you pull over the Google car? And he says, well, because he was driving too slow. So that's the problem. The machines don't do like us. They don't, you know, bend the law a little bit because everybody was driving 10 kilometers too fast. I did that too. They always do the right thing. So what will that mean? When you have an AI on your board, when you yourself are part of an AI. Those are interesting thoughts, you know. And this leads us to the next topic of trust. Because if we understand technology, we see all these new opportunities on how to solve problems. And we know that the biggest problems are the biggest opportunities. If I can get to one of those, I will create a meaningful business and enterprise, and then I will recruit all the talented people, of course. But how can I be trusted? How can my idea, my business solution be trusted? Who do you trust? What brand do you trust? What organization, what leader do you trust? Turns out that trust is one of the biggest and most interesting trends right now in all mature democracies. We can see the same thing everywhere. There is an implosion of trust. We used to trust in organizations and institutions. We used to go up for trust. Not anymore. Now we go out for trust. We go to our network for trust. I don't care what's your education or what your business card says. I don't care what you say. I don't care if you get your message out there. I care what others say about you. So we go out for trust. And that creates a new environment, of course. So all of these big problems with climate change and artificial intelligence and genomics and machine learning and all of these things that sounds cool, but a little bit scary. How can we sort of fix all of this if we start to believe in populism and protectionism? If we have global problems that all have one thing in common, they demand global collaboration, cross-border collaboration. How can we solve any one of those problems if we don't realize that there is just one humanity right now? There is no way, no one country, no one company that can solve all of this on their own. Well, the obvious solution to our problem today, being 7 billion people on one planet with limited resources, the obvious solution is with the sharing system, the new attitude. So we have digital technologies, digitalization to visualize all the resources out there, all the apartments, all the cars, all the tools, everything that we need to make a great living. And then we share them. We have a new attitude. We don't need to own everything from an individual perspective because it's very inefficient and it's very costly. And we need to work our ass off 70 hours a week. And we need to get into debt like our parents, etc. So the better solution, of course, is to visualize the resources and to share them. And I truly think that that is the solution we are on to right now. I think we are in the beginning of the beginning. We have a new attitude in the new young generation. And I usually, when I talk about change and people say that I'm scared about the future, I think the future is goofy. I don't think we will manage this. This is so much crazy stuff going on with all of this in the climate change and politics, etc. What can I do? I'm only this one person. Well, you can do like Michael Jackson. You can sing about the man in the mirror. You can see that you can't change anybody except yourself. But you can wake up and do your best every day. If you do that, as well as you can do it every day of your life, I guarantee you will be one of the most happy individuals that ever died. Thank you so much.